on the Eagles Sports Network from Learfield. Welcome to the EWU Athletics Flight Report, presented by Gee Automotive, The Plains Golf Course, Corwin Ford, and by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Now, here's your host, the voice of Eagle Athletics, Larry Weir.
Welcome to this week's Flight Report, and this is the new Coaches Show format. We will talk to Eagle head coach Aaron Best coming up in just a moment or two. Also coming up today, Jacob Newsom, defensive lineman out of Colville, the senior, and Nolan Ulm, the junior wide receiver out of British Columbia, Canada. Paulo Sorensen is alongside, as always. Coach Best joins us now to start off, and I'll tell you what, we've seen a lot of North Dakota State Eastern Washington ball games over the years, and this was a ball game on Saturday where they didn't bully your team around. You've got to be happy with the work that the team did in the offseason. Big plays is what hurt you in this game. It wasn't those 13, 14, 15 play, 80-yard, 7-8-minute drives. They only had one of those.
Yeah, it certainly was a testament to those guys in the offseason, our strength conditioning staff, or trainers to get those guys ready to go, and we played pretty darn well for 3 hours on Saturday on the road against a very reputable team and program. And like you said, we've had the ability to stand across the sidelines from those guys a few different times over the last 10 or 12 years. Only been on the right side of things once against them, but the other times it's been different outcomes in terms of feeling like we physically got defeated in a few of those contests, and I didn't think this was one of them. We stood the test the entire way. We got, we got 6 stops on defense out of 11 possessions after looking back. Unfortunately, those 5 times we did, they all resulted in touchdowns. Just didn't get on track offensively early on. We got the penalty. Like we talked about post-game with Paul, when it was 14-7, we were in there knocking on their red zone door and had the penalty offensively. It put us back to the 40 and just never kind of recouped from that point. But, a couple big plays hurt us on defense. But we held our own. The line of scrimmage was not. We were not defeated very often. The line of scrimmage. We got them out of certain sets, out of certain personnels, and they're forced to use a quarterback in the run game. So we did what we did and needed to do. We just didn't sustain it long enough to be able to kind of contain them for more opportunities. But proud of this bunch. They came to play. They expected to win. It didn't turn out that way, but our mindset is on the next one.
In retrospect, was that drive you talked about after you had cut it to 14-7, you got the stop, you got it in good field position, but you didn't take advantage of that. In retrospect, was that the turning point in the ball game?
You always looking back after the game's over. There's always kind of 4 to 6 plays or a couple situations in the midst of those plays. I think that was certainly one of them. I mean, 1st and 20 from the whatever it was, plus 45 is different than 2nd and 2 from the plus 27. You're probably going to garner some points on that drive at some point and at least get it to 14-10, you would think, or at least, tie score kicking off. It's a big difference when you don't score and then they score on the next possession. It becomes a 2-possession game when, like I said, you were knocking on the red zone doorstep. And certainly was I don't know if it's a turning point, but it's certainly an important point of the game where they extended their lead a little bit. But certainly proud of the bunch. 4th down stops on defense. We stood the challenge. Just didn't score enough. The one time we were going to go for it on 4th and short offensively, that was also kind of an important point because we ended up punting in that situation, so that we lost the opportunity because of the false start. So a couple self-inflicted penalties that were in our control, but nonetheless, we battled from 60 on the clock till 4 zeros on the clock.
AB, we talked about this in the post game about the offense having to sustain some more drives. The touchdown to Ulm was a beautiful catch, great throw. I thought it was interesting. North Dakota State really tried to keep that shell where they had somebody deep all the time over the top to kind of limit the big plays. Eastern's had some big plays over the years against North Dakota State. You could tell that was a game plan thing that they had. What do you need to do with regards to continuing those drives and getting the football in the end zone and doing some more things, on the offensive side?
I think three areas that stood out just in this game that were kind of I wouldn't say glaring, but enough to where kind of led us to too many 4th downs too early in drives. we got to protect the quarterback better. He got hit a few too many times, and that's not just sacks. I mean, hits are hits. Kakoa stood in there all game long and battled and got up every single time. But we got to shore up some protections. They pressured more than they showed on film. So they changed some things up. So protection-wise, we got to shore some things up and keep the pocket cleaner so he gets more comfortable early. Secondly, we got to have a more established run game. We got to do that with and without the quarterback to be able to ignite, work at that 4.5 to 4.8 yards per rush. When you're in whether it's with tailbacks or quarterbacks or wide receivers or backup quarterbacks, in Mike Wortham's case. And then we got to break tackles. We got to break a few more tackles. I think North Dakota State's a great tackling team. A couple times we got out in space, and I thought we might be able to squeeze that out another 6, 8, 10 yards, or maybe a big one. And credit to them. They're very good tacklers. They work at it. They're good at it, and they're physical when they do it. And so, breaking some more tackles, throughout the course of the game will lead to bigger rushing yards. And then, obviously, with the pass protection being better, we can rush the ball more. So they kind of work hand in hand with each other. But those three things on offense allow you to sustain drives and obviously move the set of chains to get a fresh set of downs.
That was interesting. I was surprised by how much pressure the Bison defense brought. And you're exactly right. There was 4 or 5 plays that I can remember where you were an ankle tackle or just a step away from a big play. And that stops the blitz. When you start gashing teams either through the air or on the ground, they stop bringing pressure. And two things that told me is, one, they didn't want Fitzpatrick to sit back there and have all day, and two, they wanted to stop the big play. So they were going to come after you, and that's an interesting idea because I think you're going to see that most likely on Saturday, as well. But I just like the way you guys hung in there in a very difficult situation. And there was a lot of growth from this football team. I was encouraged. I hate losing as much as you do, but I was encouraged by what I saw because of the effort on every single Eagle that was out there for that 60 minutes.
Yeah, and a lot of the growth, from the outside world is determined by points scored and points against, and that's however you look at it, whatever side you're on, that's the unfortunate or the fortunate piece to sports. You're only evaluated off the games that keep scoring. Ton of growth outside of the scorekeeping role by this team. Maturity. They grew up, not before our eyes. They've been growing up for the last 7 or 8 months, and this is their team. We knew we were in for a tall task, and we rose up and we swung and we kept swinging. We got back up. We got knocked down, and that wasn't always the case last year against not as good at teams throughout the course of the year. And so we still got a ton of growing to do, and the adversity is only going to test who we truly are at the end of the day, over and over and over. So I'm excited about where this team could go one game at a time, but certainly up for another one this week. On the road at Fresno at night. And it'll be their first home game coming off a big win at Purdue. So the cards are stacked against us again. That's why we like it. And as long as we keep rising to the occasion, we always have a chance, and no matter what situation we're in.
Let's talk about your Swiss Army knife, Michael Wortham. He returned kickoffs. He was running the ball out as a running back, as a QB, coming in the slot in motion. I really like the dynamics that he brings because he's so quick, on the outside. And I think he's going to really help you, across the board. I know there was a play in there he wanted to throw the ball, and I saw, some guys kind of break open late, but I really think that he is an absolute weapon for this football team. Tell us a little bit about him.
Identify, coming into spring, he was recruited as a quarterback. He was brought in to compete for the quarterback position. We told him and Jared the same thing, that the quarterback position's open. Kakoa started the last game of the year. He's got the most experience. He's got the upper hand, but the test of time will determine who our starter is going to be. And Mike did a fabulous job and continued to battle. But at some point, we all looked at each other and thought, well, there are some other dimensions that he could help our team out. And he's a dynamic football player. He understands the offense, from a quarterback's perspective, so he knows what guys are doing and supposed to do it. Now it's just a matter of reps if we're going to move him around in certain situations. And the staff kind of looked at me silly in spring when I said we might have found a kick return. And this is 2-3 weeks in, and they said, like, what do you mean? We're going to go after one? I said, no, I think we got one on campus. They said, who? I said, 13. They go, like 13 in the black jersey? Yeah. And it's for a head coach to say, here's a guy that could kick return, but also compete for your backup quarterback position. It's a unique situation, but you got to put players on the in positions to help your team win, and he does that in multi-facets. And so he wants to play. Couldn't wait to play him. It's not quarterback right now. He's got other options, given the fact that he continues to progress in certain situations and certain packages. So dynamic kid, dynamic player, and we're looking for dynamic things out of him, and he's only going to get better.
How did the Eagles come out of this game in terms of health?
Really well. I mean, it's crazy to think, having done this a few decades, I don't know that we've ever come out of a game with a couple bruises, very little limping, and especially a physical team, Central North Dakota State. Any game you come out of, there's usually 3 or 4 guys come Sunday or Monday that are laboring pretty good, and see where they are at the end of the week. But knock on wood, there's nothing. Practice today, got on the field for an hour today. Guys ran at the end of practice and without any visible limps. So that was, again, another testament of how prepared they were physically the last 7 months to put themselves in position, walking away from a very physical football game without any limps.
It's interesting now because you go up out of the frying pan into the fire, taking on an FBS team that's feeling pretty darn good about themselves as they knocked off Purdue. It's the first win over Big Ten team since 2010. Which is interesting when they beat Illinois on the road. And so they're going to be feeling pretty good about themselves. From that standpoint, they have a transfer from UCF at quarterback, a kid by the name of Mikey Keene, who can fling the ball around a little bit. This is going to be a good test for this Eagle football game. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you've seen or heard from Fresno State that you guys are going to need to kind of work on during the week.
Well, I think there's different perspectives. From a defensive perspective, they're going to see a whole different type of outfit on offense. Similar scheme zone to zone, but formations are going to be formations and motions, and they're not going to see the multiple, tight end sets. There's going to be receivers that got a ton of team speed. They can break tackles at any point. Brooks is their go-to guy at receiver. Mikey Keene was a kid that we recruited here at Eastern a few years back, and so we know about him out of high school. Knew he was going to be a phenomenal player, and he showed up in game 1 and led that team to a victory at a Big Ten stadium in week 1 in a comeback fashion. Scoring late in that game to be able to put that thing to bed. And so defensively, they like to play middle of the field close most of the time. As far as playing 3 or 1. Behind it, they trust their corners. They got an NFL caliber corner on one side and an experienced corner on the other side. And so our receivers are looking forward to those challenges, as they always are with DB receiver matchups. But they certainly should feel good about themselves. They played really well, got down early in that game and battled back. Things didn't always. They missed a field goal going into halftime, and they gave up a kick return right after halftime coming out. So you could have easily folded at that point, and they didn't. So they've got guts on the road to do that in a highly contested environment, a hot environment. First week out of the gate, Coach Pat calling for the first time. So I sent him a congratulatory text. It's awesome. He'll never forget that first game, calling it in a Bulldog logo. But now it's no talk week, and we'll talk to him once we get to game day. But they'll be hungry. They're not going to rest on being 1-0.
Their senior receiver, Eric Brooks, had 9 catches for 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. Those are all career highs for him. Very impressive. And that's interesting because you have 2 ex-Eagle coaches on there, Coach Pat and Coach Aaron. I remember Aaron, he played with Cody at Idaho State back in the day. Those are 2 quality people. Is that something that could be a bit of a hindrance because they understand, they know what Eastern's all about? Does that help Fresno State? I mean, is there any correlation to that kind of stuff?
I think if you look too far into it, you start, kind of having some hallucinations. There's some carryover. There's obviously some smoke that you can kind of translate a little bit when you're talking about guys on different staffs. And but at the end of the day, it's everybody is going to call it the way they call it, see it the way they see it, and then getting that communicated, even if there is something that's noticed, how to get that to a coach, to the 11 players on the field. Sometimes we get in our own way. Sometimes thinking that it's so darn easy, so you got to change this up up and change that up. We'll change some things up that are necessary, but it'll be good to see those guys. But yeah, the familiarity is great. But at the end of the day, I think once you get to the kick, it's all kind of just now it's a game. I mean, there's no gamesmanship. There's just, you're trying to beat them. They're trying to beat you, and strategically try to do it the best you can. And so love those two guys. Had a lot of good times with those two guys, and I'm excited for those guys. And again, both those guys won on the road last week and won at a Big Ten stadium. So you can't take that away from them. Go ahead and celebrate it. And I can't wait to talk about Saturday.
Well, AB, appreciate what you guys do, and I love the fact that you'll play anybody, anywhere, at any time. It doesn't matter, and that's really the staple of Eastern Washington football, EKG, the Eastern kind of guy, and that's what you're all about. So excited to see this football team compete. Looking forward to talking and working with Larry on the broadcast, and most importantly, wish you the very best this week in practice, and have a great game in Fresno come Saturday.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Aaron Best. Yeah, we'll be back with more of the Flight Report Football Coaches Show in just a minute. This is Eagle Football from Learfield.
When you work around here, your day can go all over the map. You need a truck that takes on any task and keeps working hard no matter what crops up. Smart and tough trucks from Corwin Ford make your work easier, whether it's finding your destination or getting to work once you're there. So load up, head out, and no matter where you tow, you'll be on track to get the job done. Corwin Ford, family driven for over 100 years.
Welcome back to Flight Report, the Eagle Football Coaches Show for the second week of the 2023 season, and we start with our player interviews now. Jacob Newsom is with us. Jacob, out of Colville, Washington. And what was it like to play? I mean, you played at Allegiant Field in Las Vegas, the Raiders field. You played on this field. What was it like for you to have a second opportunity at an NFL stadium?
It was a blessing. I was really happy, really excited. I grew up a huge Vikings fan, so it was a dream come true.
All right, so this defense, you guys, you've played North Dakota State in the past, and they kind of bullied Eastern. I didn't think they bullied Eastern in this ballgame.
Yeah, that was my last start that spring of 2021, and that was really hard going against them my redshirt freshman year. Even thinking about it is painful. They really bullied us, pushed me around. I remember talking to Cop after the game, and because he was the DT coach at the time, and telling him that it would never happen again. And the D-line did well this time. We held their ground and against the experienced and very good O-line for NDSU.
Jacob, I thought you guys did a nice job of rallying to the football, and I thought the front seven did a much better job. The thing that hurt Eastern this year against North Dakota State was the big play, and they had a backup quarterback that turned out to be pretty darn good. He had a couple of long runs. Their running back Williams was outstanding, made a great cut in the hole, and that was really the difference on the long touchdown run. But other than that, you guys were getting 3 and outs and 4 and outs. You had 2 stops, on fourth down, and I thought really showed some excellent improvement and excellent leadership on your side and everybody out there. What did you think?
I was really proud of the defense. Yeah, we did great. Holding them to their bread and butter. That's why their second string quarterback, who's their running back, number 9, he's a good athlete. Just that +1 run game, that hurt us last year, and it hurt us in the game on Saturday too. But it's just the little details we got to fix: tackling, leverages, and then I think we'll be pretty darn good.
You guys lost a lot of D-line depth, after last year, and you've had to step up and do some things. How has that kind of changed your role and how you've impacted this defense this season? Yeah,
we lost a lot of guys I looked up to since my freshman year, and I didn't know what was going to happen. It was, coming off a 3-8 season, losing a lot of leaders. It just took a lot of praying, and, we rallied behind each other, especially Brock Harrison. He's been a great leader for this defense, and someone I've really leaned on for help, especially in the leadership department, a role I've never really filled before, even in high school. Never a guy to talk a lot, but it's been a blessing, and we've come a long way.
you've a redshirt senior now. You're the old man of the sea, and you've got to kind of mentor some of the guys, Laulu and Perez, some of those dudes. What do you do? What do you say to them, and how do you go about as a leader to help them kind of get to the stage that you're at now?
Just telling them, like, they're here for a reason. A lot of guys, they see the bright lights. We played at the Viking Stadium. I mean, a lot of guys see that and kind of like freeze. And it's like, we're here for a reason. We were recruited for a reason. You guys are good. You guys have, fast feet, good hands, strong, good athleticism. Trust yourself and just take it one day at a time and strengthen your weaknesses. And then I promise you that that'll be the difference one day.
We talked to a lot of the players and coaches about the off-season conditioning and just the toughness from the 2022 season to the 2023 season. Can you comment on that? How was that off-season condition?
Yeah, it was. I don't want to say it was like rough because, I don't want to sound cliche, but I enjoyed it. It was. I think we were all really pissed off after last year, and so it was. It was hard. It was really hard, but it was something that we all know we needed and that we were all eager to do. Years past, winter conditioning has been dreadful, but we sat down, created goals for one another, and really competed with one another in those conditioning drills.
That's probably not a fair question to ask you because you're a wrestler. And the one year that I wrestled when I was in high school, my nickname was Canvasback because I got pinned so many times. That's probably not fair, on the conditioning thing because you're probably used to, doing bear crawls and crawling up the side of a mountain and things like that. But has that wrestling background from your standpoint helped you as a defensive tackle, maybe with hand fighting or techniques or your footwork? Has that translated into helping you on the football side?
Yes, it's huge. I'll be honest, I did not enjoy wrestling in high school. I only did it my senior year, and I was more of a basketball guy. But I did wrestling from 2nd to 8th grade, and it helps with pad level hands, feet, leverage. It's something that I believe if you want to be a good defensive lineman or even O lineman, that it's really crucial. I mean, you look at one of our best O linemen, Luke Dahlgren. He was a state champion. He actually pinned me in the quarterfinals in the state championship in Tacoma our senior year. But he was really good. Isaiah Perez, 3-time state champion. He's a good D tackle, young. He's gonna be really good one day.
This is cool too. You just went from an NFL stadium in Minneapolis, and you're gonna go play at a FBS stadium at Fresno, and they're coming off a big win, beating Purdue kind of in the last minute with a touchdown pass. Is that exciting for you to kind of muscle up and go up against these FBS schools? Big Sky is a great challenge anyway, but you get a chance to maybe knock off one of the big dogs. Does that fire you up as a player?
Yeah. I hate being written off. It's going to sound cliche, but just having a big chip on our shoulder, coming from Eastern, not a big school. A lot of teams don't even call us D1 because we're FCS, and just taking these big swings at these big schools, it's something that I really enjoy day in and day out. I look forward to these games every year. I know we do as a team, so I can't wait for Saturday.
I challenge you too. That offensive front you just went up again at North Dakota State is as good as a lot of FBS programs out there. So it's not going to be much of a drop off, if any. That's got to make you feel good just by the way that you guys handled this thing in terms of staying on the ball and running to the football.
Yeah, NDSU's O-line's great. Honestly, NDSU could compete with almost any FBS school in the nation. And then Fresno State's, top 25 in the nation too. They have a really good O-line. It's just different scheme. Instead of run first, they're pass first, which is a little bit cooler. I think that plays to our strengths a little bit more as a smaller, quicker D-line.
Well, we get to ask you the fun question since you are a redshirt senior. What are you majoring in, and what would you like to do in life after your football career ends?
Majoring in business management, and then I'm hoping to get my MBA here in the next 2 years. And then I'm not sure what what I want to do. I kind of got something broad and just see where God takes me. Just focus on football for now and then pray about it. My fiance's helping me out with that. She's a nurse. So she's the breadwinner. I'm just kind of the stay at home husband at the times, but it's a blessing.
Well, Jacob, thank you so much for your time today. Fantastic job. Expect more out of you. I hope you have just an outstanding senior season, and you have a lot to be proud of. Plus, you're a Colville dude, so I know you've been through the ringer. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thanks to defensive tackle Jacob Newsom. And when we come back, we will hear from junior wide receiver Nolan Ulm on the Flight Report, the Eagle Football Coaches Show from Learfield.
When the game goes into overtime. But the game goes into overtime. The choice to enjoy is easy. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Order Bud Light online today. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
All right, let's return now to Flight Report. Our football coaches show. Nolan Ulm joins us from the offensive side. A touchdown pass reception in your first game of the year, playing at U.S. Bank Stadium. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was awesome. Obviously, like Jacob mentioned, we got to the Raider Stadium back in 2021, and it's kind of cool to see how far that I've come because I was about the 8th man in. I had one play on offense that game, and I played with a bunch of special teams, but it was really fun and really just an honor to score a touchdown in a place like that. I played in the Cowboys Stadium twice in high school, once with Team BC and then once with Team Canada, and I never scored in either of those games. So it was kind of cool to get in the paint. And really just it's moments like that I posted on my Instagram story. It's cool for me to be able to share moments like that with kids from Canada, kids from the Okanagan that look up to me because I really am just a kid from Kelowna, and I'm out there playing in the Viking Stadium against one of the nation's best teams on a powerhouse team myself. So it's super cool. It's an honor.
What can the offense do this week to try to be a little more, get more sustained drives in this ballgame? You guys got into their territory several times, but only once into the red zone. Yeah,
it's just the little things. Even for myself, it's tough to really know what's going on because I'm so focused on my own assignment. But just the details, we're gonna harp in on them. We've been doing that all off season. There's no panic over here at all. We're gonna get right back to the process, the preparation. That's really what I've been obsessed with, and I think a lot of the offense has been pretty locked in on is how great can we get at practice? How good can we get with our pre-practice routines? And that's really what it comes down to. They're going to have a really good secondary, and I'm really excited. We're all really excited in the receiver room to have this opportunity to go against some really good players and show what we can do. So it's going to be a really, really good one. We're really excited for it.
Nolan, you talked about being from Kelowna, BC. I had the honor of playing with Reuben Mays down at Washington State from North Battleford, Saskatchewan. He was a freshman, so we got to haze him a lot. He was pretty darn good when he left there. I would have been able to do that to him his senior year, but really kind of carrying the banner and the mantle for Canada, that's got to make you feel pretty darn good. You had 3 catches for 50 yards. Larry talked about the touchdown catch, great catch over your shoulder. Does that kind of give you some added responsibility, in terms of coming down to the States and playing collegiate football, potentially having a chance to go on and play professionally?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is it gives me more of a purpose. And every single day it's on my my nightstand next to my bed. It's a outline of the country. My province is highlighted, and then I have a thumbtack right where Kelowna is. And that really, it's what I come back to every single day. I come back to that. My little brother's my family, but it honestly is super cool for me. And especially when I go back, I had the football camp, the nonprofit one that I hosted out there. We had about 100 kids, and it really is just, it means the world because it's growing over there. And even being able to communicate with guys like, Chuba Hubbard, Chase Claypool, these guys that, I look up to myself, and having the chance to go walk in their footsteps, Taylor Loeffler, all that. So it really is, it's exciting for me. And it's like I said, with even just playing in the NFL stadium, all of this it's such a blessing, but it gives me more of a fire under my butt. And I try to leave no crumbs on the table every single day. I see life as like a wet rag, and I'm wringing every single dropout every single day.
It was funny because Ruben's recruiting tape was filmed off the back of a pickup truck in the end zone. And I think it's probably become a little bit farther down the road. Tell us a little bit about your road to Eastern Washington in terms of the recruiting process. How did that happen for you?
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy story. I'll keep it pretty short form here, but I basically just had to go into a Rocky montage my whole high school career and get in proximity through YouTube, through podcasts, whatever it was, to get the mindset to figure out what I have to do to get to this level. There's not much coaching of the fundamentals up there, and that's still something that inhibited me from probably getting bigger offers out of high school. And I just went to the weight room and just grinded. And then I ended up going to the Nike opening, and that was a big thing. I knew I had to get big numbers for schools like Eastern to know that I was legit. And I did really well at that combine. I had to go a day early. No one knew who I was. I did a combine the day before. Then I came to the regional the next day with all those 5-star guys. And I met this guy named Kevin, and he, was like, I need to, we can get you offers. You have the numbers to do it. And so took a trip with these guys over to Ohio. We went to a bunch of different schools, got my first offer from Toledo, and that kind of put me on the map. And then Coach Pat reached out to me because he saw the numbers, because I was top 50 on the West Coast for testing or something like that. I went over 100 in whatever the Nike score is. And so Coach Pat reached out to me, and I had some other smaller school offers like University of North Dakota. And then my dad was like, we have to go to this camp. Like, it's so close. And I had no idea that Eastern was so close, only 5 hours away. It's funny. People think coming from Canada that I'm so far away, but it's a 5-hour drive. So we came down to the camp, and I just had an incredible day. And as soon as I met Coach Pat and really just the receiver culture here, I knew it was going to be a perfect fit, and just the whole culture of the program. I absolutely loved it. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the red, all that. And so I'm so grateful that I've come here. It's been just so much growth. And so I didn't know if you guys were going to ask me a question about it, but it does make this week a little more special for me to be able to go play against him, and especially Coach AP too. Those are two guys that I have really, really strong relationships with. And it's going to be cool to be able to use the tools that he gave me against him.
I think it was cool too. North Dakota State showed you guys a lot of respect playing 2 high safeties. They really made sure that you weren't going to get open deep, and they tried to keep everything underneath, brought a lot of pressure. How did you react to that in the receiving room in terms of making adjustments on your routes, knowing it was probably going to be tough to get open deep?
I mean, we kind of knew that going in. We got 5-6 guys that can really roll this year, and like always, we have a pretty stacked room. And, they definitely were dropping out pretty heavily. I got that one, right, the touchdown where the guy kind of bit inside there. So we got it there. But especially after that touchdown, you knew they just did not want to get beat over top. So I think Coach Shapen did an incredible job adjusting. And we just kind of stuck with our game plan the whole day. And we stayed calm, cool, and collected. Like I said, it just came down to little things on really important downs, plays to extend drives. That we're going to clean up going forward. I was telling my parents, I think this is the best case scenario ever that we could have gotten. We get to go play against one of the best teams in the country. We get exposed for everything that we haven't cleaned up this far, and we're going to adjust and go forward. Everything is still in front of us, and everyone on the team is very level-headed. It's not like last year when you lose a game and it felt like the whole world was crumbling in on itself. It was a lot of maturity and a lot of composure. So it's cool to see all this work pay off, even if the outside world maybe didn't think that, because of the scoreboard, we know where we're headed. So
I got to sit behind you on the charter, and I was envious as heck because you have the best do in terms of hair that I've ever seen. How the heck did that start? I mean, you've got the nice ponytail, the whole, both Larry and I are jealous. So tell us a little bit about that quickly.
Yeah. I always had like shorter hair in middle school and stuff, and it never really did anything. I never could get the gals and stuff. And so I started growing my hair out, and it just kind of stuck. And so I just kept growing it. I haven't cut it. Had a couple little trims. So my mom's actually a hairdresser. So everyone's like, you don't get haircuts and your mom's a hairdresser. So I've grown it out. And then my guy, Malachi Robertson on the team, he's a hairdresser, and he got me right. He gave me this fade. So it all came together about 2 years ago. I became a whole new man. And then Started braiding my hair too, and it's just, I love it. So I'm keeping it rocking. It's the Tarzan swag I got going.
That's fantastic. Anyway, you're a junior, but it's coming up here. What are you majoring in, and what are your plans after your football career comes to an end? What are you thinking of doing?
Yeah. So business management is what I'm majoring in. And I'm probably honestly not going to use the degree because I'm a huge entrepreneurial guy. There's so many different things I want to do, but I'm a huge fan of Tony Robbins and different stuff like that. I've spoken to a bunch of different schools, but I love coaching people. I love creating environments for people to become their best selves and just showing them what's possible. Like I said, we had that nonprofit camp back in Kelowna. I had a lifting seminar the following December, and then this upcoming one, we'll do one again. I got the podcast going. I got a bunch of different social media stuff going. I've got we're working on this thing where I'm going to be creating online programs for athletes and stuff, just giving back everything that I've researched, come to know, coming to this point. Like I said, I've had to go from ground zero of being unathletic, insecure, just you name it. And I've created these systems and stuff, and I've realized it's time for me to give a lot of that back. So that's kind of what I'm planning on doing. And then obviously I want to go play ball at the next level. And then from there, like the biggest North Star for me is impacting 1 billion people. So whatever it takes to go do that, I'm going to go do that. And when I say impact, I mean actually improving the quality of other people's lives. So I'm super passionate about helping others because I had a single mom. We were in tough positions and people gave to us. And so it's my duty to give that back to others. So
love that attitude. You're only a junior. You've got a huge future in front of you. Congratulations on the outstanding game. You got in the end zone once. How about twice coming up on Saturday? Get you a couple of scores this time, and you can really have fun with those coaches and get after it. But congratulations on a great game, and looking forward to what you can do down at Fresno.
Yep. Thank you so much.
That's junior wide receiver Nolan Ulm. When we come back, we'll wrap up the flight report for this week. It's the Eagle Football Coaches Show from Learfield.
George Gee Buick GMC is proud to support Eastern Eagles football. We're your locally owned dealer with excellent customer service and a friendly staff. Right now, get great offers on the all-new GMC Sierra, featuring a 2.7-liter turbo high-output engine delivering 310 horsepower. See our inventory of Sierras just off I-90 at George Gee Buick GMC, the top volume Buick GMC dealer in Washington State. Visit GeeBuickGMC.com.
All right, the Eagles in action on Saturday against Fresno State. The pregame show starts at 5. The kickoff is just after 6. Should be an interesting game. First game ever where Eastern football has played at Fresno State. They had their first game ever in the state of Minnesota last Saturday. Now their first ever game at Fresno State in football this Saturday. And we hope you join us on the air. If you want to listen to our commentary rather than whatever you get on ESPN Plus or whatever the Mountain Network or however this game is being seen and visible in your area, you can do so by going to syncmygame.com. That's SYNC, and get all the details there. You can also try doing it yourself. Listen to the Varsity Network app. You can also listen online at 700ESPN.com. Click on the Listen Live link. If you are in Spokane, Northern Idaho, Eastern Washington, and you're listening live on the radio, you can't sync it to the TV that way. You've got to listen online as well as watching however it is that you're going to consume this, and hopefully you'll be able to sync it all up if you want to have that for you today. The actual originator of the game on Saturday is a Spanish language station in Phoenix, and then they're going to dub the Fresno State radio over the top of that for people that are watching online. So it'll just be the people watching in Fresno in that area that'll see the Spanish language television, but it'll be everybody else that gets the Fresno radio over the top of it. If you want to take the Eastern radio broadcast, you can do that. Again, 700ESPN.com or the Varsity Network app and try to sync it up with your television. You can also, again, go to syncmygame.com, SYNCmygame.com. Thanks to head coach Aaron Best. Thanks to defensive tackle Jacob Newsom. And thanks to wide receiver Nolan Ulm for their time. And thanks to Paul Sorensen for doing a major part of the lifting in this Coaches Show here today. We'll be back with another Eagle Football Coaches Show, or as we're calling it now, Flight Report from Learfield. It'll be able to be consumed at your favorite area to if you're a podcast listener, you can go wherever it is that you get your podcasts. You can subscribe to Flight Report with Larry Weir. Then it's downloaded into your device as soon as it's made available on Tuesday morning. Or you can go to goeags.com, don't click on fans. You just hover over fans, hover your mouse over fans, and then click on Flight Report Larry Weir, and you can listen each week to the Flight Report, the Eagle Football Coaches Show. Thanks for listening here to this Eagle Football Coaches Show from Learfield.